This new report that cricket is racist and sexist is a complete load of rubbish. Firstly, think about this. The report was written by the Independent Commission for Equity in Cricket, and in this day and age, any report into anything will conclude that something is institutionally racist and sexist, so just bear that in mind. So I completely reject the premise, for starters. It highlights the fact that England's male cricketers received 13 times the amount paid to England's women players and suggests there should be equal pay at domestic level by 2029 and international level by 2030. This is really simple. When women start hitting the ball as far as the men and bowling as quickly as the men, they will create an equally good product as the men and draw big crowds. Until then, there is no reason at all to pay them the same. Asking people to get in touch themselves to highlight if they've ever felt discriminated against will elicit a certain response, won't it? So when the report states that structural and institutional racism continues to exist in the game, I imagine that will come as a huge shock to the local cricketers in, say, Lancashire, Cheshire and Greater Manchester, like where I used to play, where entire cricket clubs are made up of British, Pakistani, Indian and Bangladeshi players, where overseas professionals regularly come from the West Indies and the subcontinent. I have actually played in teams where I was pretty much the only white guy. The language being spoken in the changing rooms and on the field was not English, so I couldn't communicate with them. A lot of the lads knew each other from their local communities, so there would be a bit of favouritism in the batting order and stuff like that. I suppose if you ask me to cite that specific example of whether or not I'd ever felt excluded or discriminated against, well then, yeah, we're not bothered about it. The report says that black cricket has been failed and the ECB must develop a plan to revive it. All right, fine. What's the excuse for why cricket in the West Indies is in decline? Could it possibly be that in some cases, fewer black people want to be cricketers? They say that there are more black people represented in golf. So are you honestly telling me that there is a more inclusive attitude in the golf club bar than there is on the cricket pitch? Have a day off. There is a culture of elitism, apparently. Well, you don't have to be a genius to work out that a private school will have better cricket facilities than an inner-city comprehensive. What do they also have? More land to actually play the cricket on. The same, really, could be said for anything. What was the report's solution to all of this? Well, money. Money, money, money. And they admit it might not be affordable to give every school the same facilities. Yes, that's true. So, in fact, that's not a solution, is there? There isn't one. Poor people are blocked from playing cricket, apparently. That's not a race thing. That's the same for any working-class council house boy from Yorkshire. Annual club memberships for a local team can be around 200 to 300 quid. Subs per match might be around a tenner, maybe 15 quid at a push. But things just cost money, don't they? And that, unfortunately, is how things work. The report calls on the annual Harrow versus Eton match, as well as the varsity game between Oxford and Cambridge, to be replaced by a state school under-15s competition and a finals day for university teams to indicate that the sport is becoming more inclusive. Oh, great. So just do away with decades of tradition to appease the diversity brigade. Get this, a drinking and puerile lads culture across the sport puts women at risk of unwanted attention and acts as a barrier to the inclusion of Muslim communities. Stop it. Just stop it. There are entire teams in every league pretty much made up of entirely Muslim players. Non-alcoholic champagne is popped when teams win. Local clubs are now actively marketing a strong women's section because it is a fantastic way to grow the club and, as well, to increase your membership and make money. So that report there, in my view anyway, is just complete rubbish. Cricket is also based on statistics. If somebody is averaging 50 with the bat and taking a few wickets every game, every single team will want them to play for them. There will be examples, undoubtedly, unquestionably, of reports of people suffering racism. 100%. And that is wrong. There are idiots out there. But that doesn't make it institutional, does it? How dare this report brand our wonderful traditional British game institutionally racist, sexist, etc. If people really want to find racism in something, they will. And that's why we end up with words like structural racism, unconscious bias. But what's the solution? Seriously, what is the solution? Every cricket club shuts the bar down, do they? They only serve halal meat. Do we have a quota for ethnic minorities per team? I mean, good grief, can you imagine if they enforced that quota system the other way round in certain parts of the Lancashire League, for example? I mean, you do well to find some white players at certain teams there. It's just ridiculous. It's absolute madness. We don't need a procession of virtue-signalling apologies. We don't need a radical systemic change. Just leave cricket alone.